Whenever news breaks during your day.
And number one, whenever and wherever you want to talk sports.
Now it's time for Monty in the Morning.
Hey, yo, man. How the heck are you? It is Tuesday, September 21st, 2021.
Hello.
Hi, Jake.
Hello.
Hey, we've got a lot to get to today. Don't forget, we're giving away a Traeger smoker as we continue our meteoric rise to the heavens of greatness. I'm not really sure what that means, but what I do know is that if you're listening on the audio podcast or if you're listening on the old YouTube machine, make sure you get to themontyshow.com. That takes you right to our YouTube page. Hit subscribe. Take a photo that you are subscribed. Tag me. Hi, I'm Monty. Nice to meet you. The Monty Show. M-O-N-T-Y, The Monty Show. And SLC Supercars for Jake. That's two of us. Both of us. You must tag us in a photo. Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok. And at 2,500 subs, we will give away that wonderful Traeger Ironwood 650. Yeah, we're already at 2152.
I want to get it done.
So we are skyrocketing. Now, I will also say this. We have been looking to procure that Ironwood 650.
Uh-huh.
And it seems to be a little scarce these days. So an Ironwood 650 or an equivalent with a cover and some pellets and stuff.
And stuff. Right.
So there you have it. We're also giving away an Xbox 360. All you have to do is subscribe.
It is not an Xbox 360.
Oh, no, I said 360, didn't I? I'm showing my age. An Xbox Series S.
Thank you.
Which comes with 120 frame rates per second of awesome masturbatorial power. Hey, man, you know.
What has it been, 3 minutes, and we already got a joke in there?
What kind of joke was it?
I'm not commenting on what kind of joke it was.
Okay, there you go. Good morning to you, Greg Hawkins. First in this morning, always a pleasure to talk with you. Always a pleasure to talk BYU football and Pac-12 power rankings, and that's where we're going to go today because it seems like there is a hotly contested discussion around the concept of whether or not BYU is a college football-worthy playoff team. And the question, I guess, is hypothetical at best, but if BYU were to run the table and go through the season without a loss, Jake, are they a college football playoff participant?
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's any way they can't be. I think, with the way they started the season, 3-0 against Pac-12 opponents, and when you consider what they have in front of them, they're going to see SC, they're going to see Baylor, they're going to see some quality opponents through this schedule. And so if they were to go, and run the table, yeah, I just don't think there's any way that they're not in the college football playoff, because I think as an independent, obviously your strength of schedule really matters, and BYU historically has always played really difficult schedules. And if you've been watching this show recently, we've talked a lot about, in regards to like the SC job or any of these available jobs or opportunities in college football, what you've done the last 5 seasons really matters. And I think when it comes to BYU, what everybody can agree on is they're always playing somebody good. They've always got someone in front of them that is a P5 team. And so I think when you start this season 3-0 against, Pac-12 opponents, and let's say that you roll out and run the table, I just don't think there's any way that they can't be in the college football playoff. I mean, what are you going to say? Well, you didn't lose any games, but you're still not in. I mean, is that what we're going to say in a year when Alabama's clearly down, when Clemson is clearly down, when Ohio State is clearly down? Like, you're talking about a team in Ohio State and Clemson who are not perfect anymore, right? Ohio State lost to Oregon at home. So to me, if it is a requirement that BYU goes undefeated and runs the table, but if they do that, I just don't think there's any way that they're not in the college football playoff. I just can't see a reality where that happens.
Yeah, I think this is obviously a hotly contested discussion, and for a good reason. I mean, BYU over the last several years has played a schedule that a lot of P5 teams would love to have. And I think Tom Homo has done an unbelievable job. You're off to a 3-0 start against 3 Pac-12 teams. You understand why BYU fan feels like they should be in the college football playoff if they were to run the table. And I think what you have ahead of you for the next 2 months is pretty damn impressive if you were to go undefeated. Now, let's get something straight, though. The chances of BYU going undefeated are pretty slim. With this schedule and the attrition that comes when you run into teams like Utah, USC, again, ASU, when you have to play at that level, Peely's out for the year, which is a huge loss for this defense for BYU. I think it is improbable, Jake, at best, that they go undefeated. I think you're just asking an awful lot from any football team.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that, right? I mean, I think asking a team to run the table, go undefeated, win 11, 12 games in a row, like that's really difficult to do. And I think the word you used, attrition, is the best word to use. I look at, you look at Alabama, and this is one of the reasons that Nick Saban is so special, because Alabama has 3-4 guys at every single position who would be starting on most teams in college football. So with that being said, their attrition is never a problem because they're able to stock that. Now, with BYU, it's obviously a different scenario. So the question's really going to be, okay, how many injuries can you absorb without losing any performance on the field? You look at the Nakua brothers not being able to play for a minute, and then they're able to play in the Holy War and do some things like those kind of names. Gunnar Romney, exactly. Those kind of names are the kind of names that are going to make or break your season. Now, you're right. In all reality, this is probably a 2, maybe a 3-loss team if they were to really, not finish the season strong. I think this is a 2-loss team. That's what I think. I think, you get to the end of the year and you're looking at SC to finish the season. That, to me, that's a tough game. Especially if Jaxson Dart's going to continue to do what he's doing. Let's say that he comes into his own, really explodes, takes over the college football scene. That's going to be a tough game for you to win. So I look at that one, I'm like, all right, that's 1 loss right there. The Baylor game, I'm really curious about. What does Baylor bring to the table? How does BYU handle that team? Those are the 2 games where I'm like, yeah, those are 2 potential losses right there. But I think where the rubber really meets the road is, okay, if BYU is a 1-loss team and that loss was your last game of the year to SC, what kind of bowl do you get? Can you get into a New Year's Six bowl, or are you going to play in a different bowl? That's the question.
Well, I think it is a huge question. And I think, honestly, there's a lot, as we've talked about all through like Big 12 expansion, and there's a lot to like about being involved with BYU in national TV circumstances. And if you can put BYU on national TV, and when I say that, put them on an ABC, put them on, a CBS, you're going to draw a massive audience. You're getting 1.5 million viewers on cable. What happens on over-the-air broadcast TV? It's going to be probably 2 to 3 times that many people watching BYU football because of the accessibility, the platform. I mean, you have to believe that the bosses in college football would love to see BYU in the playoff, but they're going to have to earn that. And again, I think we're in an odd season. You look up and down the rankings of college football. I mean, hell, Alabama's not the same Alabama that everybody kind of assumed that they were. Everybody but Nick Saban assumed that his team was, right? And I think when you look at where Alabama is and when you look at what the rest of college football looks like, it feels like everybody's losing. Look at the attrition in the big, the Pac-12 already. Again, you look at teams like Arizona State, Utah. You have one undefeated team in the Pac-12, and it's Oregon.
Yeah,
like that seems to be the yearly plight. Now, granted, it's usually not through the first 4 weeks of the season where everybody falls apart, and it's usually in conference play, not at Fresno State. But that's the issue in the Pac-12 is that you overwhelmingly have quality, and it's very difficult to overcome the quality in your own conference, which is why I guess the college football playoff is an exclusive invite. And truth be told, that's probably how it should be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree that's how it should be. But, I think the college football playoff is really hard because when you take a year, so it's really easy in the years where you've got Alabama undefeated, Clemson undefeated, Ohio State undefeated. Cool.
Right.
We got 3 teams. Now it's just a matter of who's going to be that 4th team. But in a year like this year where Alabama did not look good against Florida. We talked all about that yesterday on the show. So you've got Alabama that's a little rocky. They're not the same Alabama as they used to be. You've got Ohio State, which is clearly in a down year. You've got Clemson, which is just straight up, just not the same Clemson team after Trevor left and Etienne left and all those guys left for the NFL. So those are three teams right there who have been in the college football playoff basically every single year. So the question really is this year, what is the bar? Is the bar one loss?
It's a good question.
Bar and then the other thing is the bar is different depending on the conference you play in. For Alabama, the bar is one loss. If they're a one-loss team, they're in the college football playoff, you can book it. Just book it. But I look at Oregon and I say, okay, well, for Oregon to get into the college football playoff, they have to go undefeated or one loss is really pushing it. So that's why I say teams like Iowa, Iowa State, like all these lower end teams this particular season have more of an opportunity. And that's why on today's show, we felt like it was so pertinent to ask the question. Well, if those teams have an opportunity, what is BYU's opportunity? Because if you look at their schedule, there's really only, in my opinion, like I said, 2 games left on this schedule that will give them serious trouble, which is Baylor and USC. The rest of the way, those are games this team, assuming they're healthy, should win.
Yeah, and I think if you're a college football playoff team, that you absolutely should beat Boise, Utah State. The next 3 weeks are going to be tester games. Obviously with South Florida, Utah State on the road in Logan, then back home for Boise. Boise typically is a rivalry type game. Utah State, obviously, you've had some real tough moments in that matchup over the last decade. Obviously, the Taysom injuries come to mind.
Gnarly.
You've just had some moments against Utah State that have been difficult for you. But if you're a college football playoff worthy team, this schedule is not one that you should fear. And obviously, I'm with you on at Baylor, at Washington State, that vaunted trip to USC to end the season. That's probably going to define your season. Now, my guess is that we're not going to get to the end of the season with a whole bunch of undefeated teams. I just don't see that happening. If you look at where we are in college football already, you have few powerhouse teams left without a loss. Now, Alabama obviously got by Florida just barely over the weekend. But it's hard to see Alabama going undefeated. So, yeah, I think if BYU runs the table, it's going to be awfully difficult to keep them out of the playoff. But the question is, and the more likely scenario is, if BYU ends up with one loss, and let's say that one loss is to a Baylor, which, my feeling is that's a better loss than losing to USC in any way, shape, or form. Because when you lose on November 27th, it makes it awfully difficult for you to get into the playoff.
Yeah.
So I think it depends on who that loss is to and where that loss is. And I think that will determine the impact that it will have. But I don't think there's any question that if BYU runs the table with this schedule, that they belong in the college football playoff.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think they are I think this year in college football is very unique from the standpoint of, again, you have all these teams that are just in weird positions.
Yeah.
You have, again, we're 3 weeks into the season, and you've got multiple college football playoff staples that already have losses. And so that, to me, is the college football gods basically saying, okay, BYU, there's daylight in this door. We've cracked it open a little bit. You got to walk through the door now. And so I completely agree with you. I think the timing of your losses is crucial. If you were, let's say you were to win out and then you lose in your last game to USC, that obviously is a more impactful loss. That obviously hurts your reputation and your resume more than if you were to lose to Baylor and then rerun the rest of the table, including a win at USC to finish the season. I completely agree with that. And I think that like let's use the Ohio State loss to Oregon early in the year. Let's say Ohio State runs the table the rest of the way. Anybody going to remember that Oregon loss? Probably not, right? So that's why I say you make a great point. And I think that, it's just really unfortunate that you've got basically the rest of the Pac-12, like UCLA is another team that had a nice setup. After you beat LSU, you were in position. You had the hype. California school, like UCLA, like DTR, everything was awesome. And now you had that loss to Fresno State, and you're like, damn, you know?
Yeah.
So if this was the year, this is the year you got to capitalize.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how all of this breaks down. I mean, obviously, looking at the rankings, you feel like, Alabama, Georgia. I don't know. And we're going to get into Pac-12 power rankings here in a minute, but I'm not a huge believer in Oregon. Mario Cristobal teams have never shown the ability to have, staying power, if you will. I mean, Oklahoma appears to be very good. Iowa, Penn State, I don't know. James Franklin has that team playing at a very high level. That's a very good win at home against Auburn. Texas A&M is playing good football. Cincinnati, I don't know. I mean, those are the undefeated teams. And if I look at Clemson, as you stated, not the same football team. Ohio State, that defense does not appear to be, an Ohio State defense that we're used to. So, I guess the answer is I think there are a lot of oddities in college football this year. I'd be shocked if we got to Halloween and had more than 2 or 3 undefeated teams left in all of college football. So it'll be interesting to see. I mean, if you just look at Alabama, the Florida game, is that an indicator of who they're going to be? I don't know. I look at Ole Miss coming up. You look at their schedule. Ole Miss on the road at Texas A&M. Mississippi State, Tennessee, home for LSU, New Mexico State, Arkansas, and then at Auburn for the Iron Bowl. That's not a terribly difficult schedule. I mean, it's probably Ole Miss and A&M where those losses would come from. I mean, you're playing Southern Miss. Now, granted, they're the Golden Eagles, right? They're the mighty Golden Eagles for Alabama. That doesn't scare you. Alabama, if nobody's going to be shocked if we get to December 1st and they're undefeated. Nobody's going to be surprised by that.
But how much would it help? And it's a serious question. I'm not even joking. How much does it help BYU or teams on BYU's level, Cincinnati, any other team you want to compare them to?
Yeah.
How much does it help those teams if Alabama was to lose to Ole Miss or was to lose in the Iron Bowl to Auburn? That one loss, I'm telling you, that one loss for Alabama changes everything. Because now you can say, well, Oregon's got one loss, or USC has one loss, or BYU lost to Baylor in the middle of the year. What makes the difference? Once Alabama loses that ace in the hole, which is, hey, we're undefeated, I'm telling you that opens things up a little bit and gives teams like BYU more of an opportunity.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously, if you're undefeated, you're going to be in a major bowl game.
Yeah.
You're going to be in one of the qualifiers. And I think you look at, the major Cotton Bowl, Fiesta Bowl. You look at the Rose Bowl, which is obviously, the Pac-12. The Sugar Bowl, the Orange Bowl. Like, you've got to get into that conversation. And I think, that's how you get into the college football playoff. And it's simply a matter of, how do you, if you're BYU, if you're any of these teams, how do you backstop and help yourself in any way possible to get into the college football playoff? And again, this is why the Peely injury is such a big deal. I mean, not only is he a captain, he's a hell of a football player.
Yeah.
And it is just really unfortunate that Kenyon Peely's out for the year. I mean, I don't know that you replace that guy.
Yeah.
His production, his heart, his effort, the energy that he brings on the field is very difficult to replicate. All right, let's get some of your thoughts in here before we get to the Pac-12 power ranking.
Power!
Brylark says, morning, boys. Proyecta Emprender.
I'm sorry, who?
Could you repeat the requisites to participate in the smoker giveaway?
Yes.
Pretty simple. You have to subscribe to our channel. And once you hit subscribe, you have to take a picture that you're subscribed, post it on Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, and you have to tag both Jake and I. Jake is SLC Supercars on all 3 of those platforms. Or you can just, if you just Google search douche, it'll take you right to all of his social media. I mean, that it won't. But if you want to Google search douche and just do an image search, that's up to you.
I actually think I do come up under douche.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, with that haircut, who wouldn't?
I know.
But the point is,
That guy's definitely a douche.
I mean, the point is, and you have to tag both of us, SLC Supercars. I am the Monty Show, Monty, the Monty Show. Pretty simple. Greg Hawkins, I predict they'll drop at least one out of Virginia, Wazoo, Baylor, and USC. The Virginia game's interesting. It's Bronco's return. It's, there's emotion in that.
Typically, you would say there's not much in that, but yes, because it's Bronco, there's a lot there.
Yep. Wazoo, come on. They're not losing to a Nick Rolovich coach team.
See, here's the thing, though. The question with BYU that I think is so fascinating is what performance bar do we hold them to? Like when you say Wazoo, that is that like, yep, BYU's beating that team?
Yes.
Is it for you? That should be a win.
That should be
right?
a double-digit win.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So I agree with you on that. And then when you look at like the Virginia game is going to be tough. I think that for BYU, that's a game that you got to win. It's that simple.
Yeah.
If you want to get to the promised land, you got to win that game.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the Baylor and the USC games are the ones where you're like, phew. I think Kalani Sitake has this team locked right now. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I put too much faith in Kalani. I don't see a situation where BYU is in a place where like, well, oh man, it's just really unfortunate we lost to South Florida, but we started out with 3 Pac-12 teams. That was a letdown. No, I don't see that happening. I don't see the excuses flying a week from now.
Yeah.
I really did. That would be a shocking departure from the norm for Kalani Sitake and company.
Yeah.
So I don't see that happening, but I think you're going to run into two really good teams in Baylor. And I don't know, if Jaxson Dart's the starting quarterback for USC, they're a much more explosive offense.
Yeah.
And that scares you a little bit.
They're a better team.
They are a better team.
Yeah.
But Greg, I'm not, I'm certainly not saying you're wrong. I just don't have a lot of belief in Wazoo. I really don't.
I just think at some point we got to stop treating this BYU team like, oh, it's nice, you won the game, like cool, but we all know you're going to lose like 4 or 5 at the end of the year. Like that's not what this team is anymore. They weren't that last year, and they're definitely not that this year. And I look at the schedule and I just say, listen, let's hold this team to a college football playoff level bar, which is, hey, you got to win out. And the only 2 games that you really should be concerned about as a BYU fan are Baylor and SC to end the year. That's it. And anything less than that this year, to me, is a bit of a disappointment. If you lose 3 games this year, that's a bit of a disappointment. If you lose to Baylor and SC, that's going to suck. It is. But I can't honestly say I would be surprised. That's the difference.
I would be surprised.
If you lost both of those.
Yes. I think that you're not getting out-athleted anymore. Everybody, and I think we've seen this, everybody talked about, well, Utah's too physical up front. Well, it turns out they're not. ASU's too fast. Well, it turns out they're not.
ASU fans were relentless with that.
Right, but and ASU is fast. There's no doubt. But they're not too fast for BYU.
Yeah.
Because BYU's level of athleticism is significantly higher.
Yeah.
So you're not getting blown off the field by the talent on the other side.
Yeah.
So you're in every game. You're going to compete in every game. You're not going to have the lead in every game. You're going to have to fight for your life a couple of times a year. That's just the way college football works. But you're not getting out-athleted anymore.
Yeah.
Again, the question will be depth, because fortunately, like a guy like Gunnar Romney, you have 4 other guys that can step in behind him, and now he's playing and he's healthy. And now you have a tight end in Isaac Rex who had a breakout game. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
We've got depth. Okay, well, what's your depth on defense where you suffered a lot of losses to graduation?
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you had a lot of guys age out of the system. So the question now becomes, who steps in for Peely and where are you? Because production is something we don't talk about on defense. Production is something we talk about on offense. But we need to be talking about production on defense, because it is one of those things that is very difficult to replace when one of your best tacklers, when one of your leaders, when one of the guys who makes sure that everybody's in the right spot on your defense is done for the year. And it's cool he's going to be a leader in practice and on the sideline. But what happens when everybody's got to buckle their own chin strap and it's 3rd and 3 and you need a guy to fill the A gap?
Yeah.
You know, that's the question. So for me, the depth, are you Pac-12 level deep? You're not. We already know that. So when you go to Baylor and you look at the Baylor matchup, well, are you Big 12 level deep? You might be. You might be. I don't know. What I do know is it's not going to be easy. Any way you slice it, it's not going to be easy. And right now, you're the 15th ranked team in the country, and you have expectations for the first time, because I don't think we had expectations last year.
No.
How could you? We had no idea what the season was going to bring last year.
Yeah.
But, you know, on October 16th, when you're in Waco, Texas, taking on Baylor,
Waco,
we're going to find out what kind of depth you have.
Yeah.
Because I think that is the first next big test. Because home games are great, home field advantage, all that good stuff. Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm telling you right now, that game in October is a big one. Again, going to Logan to take on Utah State, that's no pleasure cruise. That is not a vacation trip that you're taking up to beautiful, scenic, Logan in the Cache Valley. Because trust me, that's going to be a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, this team really hasn't gone on the road yet. You know, if you really think about it, the Vegas game was a home game for BYU. That was well documented. And now you've played, a couple of home games here in Provo, and you won them both, obviously. So, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, let's see what they are like in a true road game.
Wait, hang on, though.
Yeah.
Hang on, though.
Right.
Spencer Morgan has a legitimate, serious question.
Okay.
He says, hey, guys, I saw the thumbnail.
Yeah.
Is the Zuby Slurp Fest over yet, or should I check back later?
Obviously not.
Well, listen, I mean, I've still got a whole glass of, oh, wait, I have a glass that's red. I guess, we just put that aside because Utah sucks. No, I'm kidding. Just being me. He says, and yes, the Pac-12 sucks. David Floyd says, Big 12 with BYU, Cincinnati, UCF, and Houston appears on the surface to be a much better compared to the Pac-12 or the ACC. Well, I don't know. Like, how much weight are you putting into the results we're seeing in college football right now? Because I think we're not out of what happened last year. That much to me is very clear. You've lost a year of player development. I think that's what you're seeing. And I think that's why you're seeing the Alabamas and, you're seeing the Clemsons. You're seeing traditional recent powerhouses struggle.
Yeah.
Because you've lost a year of practice time. You've lost a year of development. And I think especially in the Pac-12 where you played 4 games last year, you have no idea what Jayden Daniels is now. Did Jayden Daniels get exposed? I don't know. He could be my starting quarterback. I'd be happy to have him.
Yeah, he was throwing bombs.
Right? I mean, I don't know. I look more at the Pac-12 because they chose not to play a full schedule. Whereas teams like BYU and the SEC chose to play a full schedule. So it'll be interesting. I don't know. I don't think we're out of COVID times in college football.
I don't think we're out of COVID times, period.
Yeah?
Period.
I mean,
just like
I don't disagree with that. I think the question's going to be, how do you, if you are college football and you're in the NCAA, how do you get past this? Because at some point you've got to be able to leave COVID behind. And anymore, that's becoming a larger and larger challenge in college sports.
Right.
I don't know what you do with COVID, because you're not going to shut down the country again. I think we all know that. You're not going to stop professional sports. I think we all know that. I mean, hell, you had the administration, the Biden administration, announcing yesterday that international travel is going to be opened again. You're simply going to have proof of vaccination. And that feels like the right thing to do. I don't know. I hear all these stories on Twitter the other day about how there were major COVID issues at the BYU game. That was the same thing that was at Penn State. Penn State has kind of had a small breakout of positivity off of, but when you have 8 million people in the same building on a chilly East Coast night and not many people are wearing masks, I think you're going to have the spread of COVID.
Yeah, well, and I think it's also the vaccination rates too. I mean, the 3 stories we heard out of the BYU game were all people who weren't
were not vaccinated.
And so I think that's the bigger thing.
And one of those, by the way, is a friend of ours.
Yeah, and so I'm not trying to derail the show here and go down the vaccination rabbit hole and all that good stuff. We don't need to do that. But the point is like, with college football, I wish that there was either a proof of vaccination requirement or a mask mandate. One of those two. For safety purposes.
I think you need to have a vaccination requirement. If it works for the Raiders, it can work for BYU. It can work for college football. I mean, if there are many places now, many venues for sports across this country that require a proof of vaccination to get in. And I think it's the only way to go about it. And you're always going to have people that are going to have fake, vaccination cards, whatever it might be. I get it. My point is, I think you have to do something to protect the game, to protect the revenue that comes from the game.
Yeah.
Baseball, basketball, football, college sports, I think you have to do it.
Yeah.
What do you got? Whoa, comment dump. Let's see. What do you guys think about adding Gonzaga as a basketball-only member to the Big 12? David Floyd says. I think it's a non-starter. I think if you are Gonzaga, the Big 12 doesn't make a lot of sense. I just think geographically where you're located, you're on the West Coast. I think if you were going to do that, and I think, frankly, the Pac-12 would be really smart to add Gonzaga as a basketball-only member. But the WCC is a pretty good conference. And by the way, why would Gonzaga leave the WCC when, I mean, you're in, if you, I
auto bid.
Yeah, I just don't think I don't think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, with all due respect to everybody else in that league, I mean, San Diego, San Francisco, BYU currently for basketball, but you look at the Christian-based schools, like there's no reason for Gonzaga to leave that conference, at least not now. I mean, they're making a ton of money already being an elite basketball program. You're playing for national championships. Your coach is an alcoholic, apparently, who gets DUIs. I don't know why you would leave. Did you not hear that? Mark Few, the head coach at Gonzaga, got a DUI last week.
That's cute. I remember when I had my first beer.
And it's amazing to me. Yeah, no, don't get me started.
Him and Steve Keim are probably hanging out.
And Tony La Russa, too.
Yeah.
Prick. Anyway, sorry. Brylark says BYU will have to run the table comfortably to get to the – well, I don't think comfortably matters. If you get to December 1st and you're undefeated, you're going to a New Year's Six Bowl.
Yep.
You're in the process. I think it's very difficult. It would be almost impossible to keep BYU out at that point. I don't even know what justification you could possibly have.
Because think of the hype.
To keep BYU out at that point.
Think of the hype, right? Oh, my God. Look, think about what ESPN does with Aaron Rodgers every day. That's a negative-ass story. Aaron Rodgers is doing this and doing that. Imagine what would happen if BYU was 12-0, dude. You tell me that the hype machine around BYU wouldn't be like in full send to the moon mode?
Come on,
bro.
Come on. At what point do you guys stop kissing BYU's ass? Ace would like to know.
What do you want us to say about Utah, bro? What do you want us to say?
Yeah, I don't know.
Should we say that we're really looking forward to seeing Cam Rising, get the nod this week, because that's what's going to happen whether Whittingham wants to acknowledge it or not, right? Like, do you want us to talk about the fact that the program lacks a lot of spirit and intensity and willingness to do what it takes to win a football game right now? Do you want us to talk about the fact that Kyle Whittingham is allegedly on the way out in terms of going into retirement?
Well, listen, Ace, and Ace is a diehard Ute fan. I think that, and we can get into the Pac-12. I'm happy to do it. I think when we look at power rankings, it's no longer acceptable just to say power rankings.
This is the power rankings on the Monty Show.
Power rankings in that ass. I don't know. It just is.
Can you work in Nick Chubb into the power rankings?
Let's talk Nick Chubb. It's Chubb. I'm a child. Okay. Pac-12 power rankings. I think the top 5, I think, is pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't think there's any question Oregon's number 1. Until the crystal balls come back to earth, I think they're number 1. I mean, the win in Columbus is the ultimate hammer at this point, and I think they're probably overrated by a touch because they went to Columbus and beat Ohio State. They looked really good against Fresno State. I mean, and you look at UCLA losing to Fresno State.
Yeah,
that does not help UCLA's plight for legitimacy, if you will. So I look at what you have in Eugene, and I think you have something rolling now. And so I think by far, without a question, Oregon's number 1. Now I put USC number 2.
Yeah.
I think USC, and I don't mean to gush over or find myself attracted to Jaxson Dart.
Oh my God!
No, he's so
Jaxson
sexy.
Dart!
That hair.
Well said.
Yeah, I'm not worried about his hair. I'm worried about his knee, because if Jaxson Dart's healthy, he is by far the starting quarterback and the best quarterback at USC. My prognostications and awesomeness of brilliance will tell you that Keaton Slovis has been overrated. He's nothing more than Matt Barkley wearing a costume. And my point is, I think Jaxson Dart has a chance to be that breakout superstar that the Pac-12 needs. And I think when you look at SC, obviously the way they played, at Washington State against the we don't get vaccinated Roloviches, idiot, in the second half was not a fluke. I mean, that was 100% Jaxson Dart. And I just think that when you come out and you throw 4 touchdowns and 391 yards, Wazoo died a quicker death than this fly's about to die.
It's unbelievable.
I
don't know how it's possible.
Once a week, we have a fly that's just chilling in the cut. Now, Phil Steele, you guys, we're about to get fined. We're going to take the Phil Steele magazine.
Okay, here we go. We're ready.
And we are going to attempt to commit fly aside.
Can people see? Is the camera correct?
I don't know. I hope so.
Damn it.
Did I get him?
No.
I think I did.
No, you didn't. He's still flying around right here. Where is he now? Here he is.
Bastard.
Here he is.
Whatever.
Douche.
Anyway, he's in your hair now. Good. Look, Mike Pence, take it easy. Anyway, the point is, you look at what Jaxson Dart was able to do. I think it's really good. Now, by the way, you're playing Saturday night against Oregon State on Fox Sports 1. That's a must win. There is no more room for error at USC. And by the way, while we're on the topic, Dante Williams is a nice little story, but he's not the long-term head coach at USC.
Yeah.
Stop. Just knock that off. Because, and again, I will just tell you that I think USC needs a guy who can come in there and be a magnetic personality. And with all due respect to Dante Williams, I just don't think he's that guy.
Yeah.
I really don't.
100%.
Who do you have number 3 in the conference? Because I think there's only 2 choices, UCLA or ASU, and neither one's a good choice.
Yeah, the biggest thing that I think the biggest thing that I look at between these 2 teams is the fact that they don't really have the signature win yet. And you're going to go right to, well, UCLA beat LSU. And the problem with that right now is that it doesn't look like a signature win now because you went ahead and you lost again. And instead of, hey, we beat LSU, then we went ahead and beat Fresno State, and that, so it's like this whole situation where, the LSU win should have been like, bam, we're here. I'm Chip Kelly. I'm DTR. Like, we're UCLA. And now it turns out that it's, I'm Chip Kelly, and we're UCLA, and we have DTR, and it's kind of nice. And so to me, I think you have to put ASU one rung ahead. I think you do. The problem with that is that in Provo this past weekend, as we're all well aware, ASU fell apart. I mean, I'm talking about letting the crowd get to you. I'm talking about, just getting put away in that game. And so when you ask me, well, who's the better team? I don't think one way or the other you could say one is actually better than the other. I wish I could say, hey, they're tied. They're even. Put them up against each other and see who comes out the other side. That's where I think we are with these two teams. But, if you really nail me down on it, I probably would take ASU right now over UCLA. I like what I saw in the deep game. Or in the deep throw game, I like the fact that they have a lot of threats down the field, and I think against most teams, they're going to be able to rack it up. They're going to be able to be a 30 point a night team. That's what I think they are against most teams.
Yeah, and I think I would go UCLA because of DTR. I think he's a better quarterback than Jayden Daniels is. Jayden needs to eat some fettuccine with extra sauce. I mean, the guy just has to gain weight. He does throw a nice deep ball, but you are terrified every time that guy takes off and runs out of the pocket because of his slight frame. Now, the other thing that is pretty obvious is that, I think the 4 turnovers for Arizona State were shocking. Shocking.
Yeah.
The lack of composure was shocking out of a Herm Edwards coach team. That's why I'm going UCLA 3, ASU 4.
Yeah.
And then, by the way, I think, both of these clubs, UCLA has to come out and stomp Stanford on the farm.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to come out and just kick the crap out of Stanford and make it pretty clear that Fresno State was a blip on the radar, a letdown game, and you are here for that. You are here for that David Shaw ass.
But
that's it.
You see what's happening in college football with a lot of these teams. Like, I just want you guys to notice this as the season kind of wears on. A lot of these teams are dealing with, like, yes, we have this great win, but then we lost to this crappy ass team. So now we don't know who you are. And I agree with you. I agree. DTR is better than Jayden. There's no doubt about that. I completely agree. But again, I just maintain, whether we're looking at ASU and UCLA or whether we're looking at Ohio State or any of these teams, just keep in mind from the 50,000-foot view, these losses to bad teams are really shaking the confidence in these programs. I agree completely that UCLA's got to come out and just annihilate Stanford. Like, that needs to happen.
Yeah, and I think as you try to build better in the Pac-12, that you've got to avoid these losses early. And it's why, playing Southern Mississippi for Alabama is a smart move.
Yeah.
It's why Utah playing Weber every year is a smart move, because I'm a big believer that you should play every team you play should be a P5 team. I'm a big believer in that. But right now it's not. So why would you? Why would you do that? I think that's a critical one. And then of course you have to ask the question, well, where does Utah slot in? Well, here's my question. Is Utah better than Stanford? Well, the problem is it doesn't appear to be that way. When you go to LA and you beat USC, now it is what it is, but Utah doesn't have that win. Utah's win is against Weber. So I think you have to put Stanford, I think you got to put them 5th. I think Utah is 6th behind Stanford. And then I think, you're probably Oregon State, Colorado. I think Washington's dog shit. I really do. I am so disappointed in Jimmy Lake and the status and the current state of the Washington Husky football program is embarrassing.
Yeah, dude.
To have long stretches where you play this poorly is shocking. When you lost to Montana,
Montana, bro.
You went to Michigan to die,
dude.
0-2, and then you're hanging your hat on a 52-3 win over Arkansas State. I'm shocked at the depth that this Washington program has fallen to, and so quickly. You have a Cal team in Seattle this weekend. Now, nobody's going to see it because it's on Pac-12 Network, as is, by the way, the Utah game.
Yeah.
But I'm shocked. I'm really shocked. And everybody that was tweeting last week that Chris Peterson needs to come back, I wouldn't hold your breath on that. I just wouldn't.
Is Washington a good job?
I don't know anymore. I don't know. I think, here's the question. Was Jimmy Lake a good hire?
Wow.
I still go back to, you had an elite defensive coordinator in Pete Kwiatkowski that you essentially demoted so that Jimmy Lake could be the D coordinator, that he could be the coach in waiting. You cleared the decks for this guy, and he has not been good.
For what, dude?
And my point is, they haven't recruited. They're not executing on the field. And I look at the worst teams in the league. I think Washington State is easily the worst team in the Pac-12. I think Arizona, Fish has done a nice job, I think. Now, granted, they're, 0-3?
Yeah, but they're better.
But they're better than they were. I think Nick Rolovich is a joke. I really do. He's an embarrassment. I still don't understand. If you don't know the Rolovich story, not only does his team suck, but he's refusing to get vaccinated, even though in the state of Washington, and whether you agree with it or not, it doesn't matter. In the state of Washington, if you are a state of Washington employee, and he is Rolovich, the head coach at Washington State, and he happens to be the highest paid MFN employee in the state at $3.2 million, he's refusing to get vaccinated. He's refusing to talk about his vaccination status or what he is doing to comply with an order that's going to require him to get vaccinated by the end of this week, or he's not going to have time to beat the deadline on October 16th.
I think that's HIPAA.
And I just don't know what you do with Nick Rolovich at that point. Apparently he's applied for an exemption, which is not likely to be given. By the way, his offensive coordinator's brother just resigned a position because he refused to get vaccinated. I don't remember what school that was, but he resigned his position as a coach at the Naval Academy, because he's a federal employee at the Naval Academy, and all federal employees have to be vaccinated. He refused to get vaccinated, so he had to quit his job. I don't see any way out of this Rolovich situation. Oh, by the way, Washington State football's major sponsorship is with a local hospital system that's overrun with COVID patients right now. And he won't get vaccinated. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. Those are your Pac-12 power rankings, brought to you by nobody and your mom. Horatio Hornblower, speaking of your mom.
I love this dude's name, Hornblower.
Undefeated BYU in a New Year's Eve 6 game. New Year's 6. Hello, can I read?
Hello.
Undefeated BYU in an NY 6 game. Undefeated BYU in playoff with lots of help. Only 2 one-loss teams or less. You need, if you're BYU, you're hoping that there are no undefeated teams.
Yeah.
Because it's inevitable. If you're a betting man, why would you bet on BYU being undefeated?
Yeah, they're going to lose a game.
The return's great, but the chances are slim.
Yeah.
Coach Lovren says Bama would need 2 losses to lose out on the college football playoff, I'd assume. If BYU takes 1 loss on the year, does Fresno jump them for an NY6 game? No, because I don't think Fresno has the quality of schedule that BYU has.
And Fresno, that whole program, it doesn't have the brand power, because think about it. In college football playoff, and this never gets talked about, but I absolutely believe it's a thing. The college football playoff is very different than the March Madness bracketology lifestyle, right? In March Madness,
very different.
On the basketball side, you want Ouachitachi, Nowhereville State on the bracket. You want that Cinderella story. You want Stony Brook on the bracket. You want them making, the round of, the Sweet 16 or the Elite 8. But in college football, we don't want that. Nobody wants that. We want Bama, Clemson, and Jarrah World for the national championship. That's what we want. And that's what we've been getting. And now we're not going to get that this year. We're not getting Bama, Clemson in the, championship game. We're not getting freaking Bama, Ohio State in the championship game. We're getting Bama. 100% we're getting Bama. I have no doubt about that. The question is going to be who's going to be the opponent. Because think about it. If it's Bama, BYU, there will be people who watch that game, but that's basically no contest. Bama's going to roll BYU.
Yeah,
so,
I would agree with that.
It just depends. It's hard in these years when you've got a bunch of 1- and 2-loss teams to kind of create a great matchup.
Yep, I agree. New Big 12 power rankings: Cincinnati, BYU, West Virginia, K-State, Iowa State, Baylor, TCU, Tech, OSU, UCF, Houston. Signed Texas Tech fan. What do you guys think? Right now, obviously, I don't know how you don't have BYU number 1 there. BYU, if they were in the Big 12 right now, I think you'd have to have them on top. They've beaten 3 good football teams to better, if you look at Arizona, okay, right off the Arizona win, that's your week one. Okay, cool. Utah, at the time they beat Utah, was one of the best teams in the Pac-12. Arizona State is still one of the best teams in the Pac-12. They're 3-0. At this moment right now, I think their strength of schedule would have them number one there, but that's just me. Brad Button, oh man, you guys
comment dumb.
Yeah, by the way, if you're here right now, please give us a thumbs up. It really helps the channel grow. So please do hit that like button. Brad Button says losing Keenan Peely hurts big time.
Yeah.
It is a big time loss. BYU fan CJ says, I know people are writing off the BSU game. You better not be. Boise is never an easy game.
But that's a game you should win.
Yes.
To be clear, that's a game you should win, but it won't be easy.
But I think they have revenge on their mind for knocking them out of a perfect season 2 years ago. Oh, I'm sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm sure they. Well, I mean, it's BYU and Boise. How much juice do you need in that? I mean, that's always got a lot of heat on it. Barfing chickens. Okay. Says NIL rule changes will absolutely shake up the college football world in the next few years. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about that a lot, Cock. I mean, barfing chickens. We've talked about that a lot on this show. And BYU with the Built Bar thing, I mean, I think they're a trendsetter there. Spencer Morgan says Utah's offensive line is definitely showing they miss a year of development. And that's scary because they were shit before that. Yeah. Well, Utah's offensive line is a total disaster. Like it is. How do you at the University of Utah with the coaching staff and recruiting quality they have? You can't find 5 guys who can get the job done.
Nope.
That's shocking.
That's why you gotta question Harding, man. It's gotta happen.
And I'm a huge Jim Harding guy, but I mean the way that O-line's playing, I just don't know how you. I don't know what you do either, because usually you don't fix your offensive line in September or October. That is a January, February, March fix. You know what I'm saying? Sam Kim says, Spencer, was it recruiting issues or bad luck? It was probably a lot of both.
What's this in reference to?
The Utah's offensive line, I think.
Oh, okay.
I look at you have guys that are in the NFL. This offensive line's not just bad this year. This has been going on for a minute now, and that's what worries you so much about it. Spencer Morgan says, Monty's take from last week that UCLA is better than Oregon did not age well. It didn't. UCLA let down and went to Fresno State and died. Now they got to bounce back. Let's find out who Chip Kelly's teams are. Let's find out what their culture and character's like.
Yeah.
The
Pac-12 needs them.
Adversity is, they do. They really do. But adversity is the definition of a football team. There's no doubt about that. Greg Hawkins says, BYU fan CJ, I don't think it's going to matter. BYU will win all 3 major rivalry games this year. They should. There's no doubt about that. I think that's a big one.
But winning all 3 rivalry games doesn't mean anything in the college football playoff picture. I mean, the college football playoff committee is not looking at...
Well, it's 3 more wins.
Well, yeah, it's 3 more wins, but what I'm saying is that the playoff committee is not going to say, well, you won the rivalry game against Utah State. That's a huge win. Like, they're not going to look at that. They're just going to say, okay, is this a 1-loss team or a 2-loss team? Simple as that. If you're a 2-loss team, we'll see you later. You're out. If you're a 1-loss team, hopefully that's good enough to get you in.
Yan Mujabubu says the Pac-12's a joke. That conference is, and this is why your comment's filtered, by the way, is an effing joke. BYU won't get in because of religious bias. Okay, see, this is the typical BYU fan take, though. Okay, now listen. God. You can't say that BYU belongs in the college football playoff after saying the Pac-12 sucks because BYU's 3-0 against the Pac-12. So is BYU legitimately good, or are they just playing shitty opponents from the Pac-12?
Well, this person said both.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you say that the Pac-12's an effing joke, and that then your next sentence is BYU's not getting into the college football playoff because of religious bigotry. So you're saying they belong in, but because they're Mormons, they won't get in because people don't like Mormons. Well, they don't belong in if the Pac-12 sucks.
Oh, he don't know nothing.
And I said this on Twitter yesterday, and I know people lost their wigs over it. BYU fan, hear me clearly, and you probably should write this down. Stop saying that oh my God, BYU belongs in the college football playoff. Why? Because we beat these three teams. Oh, but the Pac-12 sucks and Utah's a joke.
It's really unfair.
Okay, well, Utah's one of your better wins on the schedule, as is ASU. So which one is it? Does the Pac-12 suck or do you belong in the college football playoff? Because you can't have both.
Yeah.
And you need to kind of do the math before you start spitting facts out. You know what I'm saying? Like that is a pet peeve of mine from BYU fan. You can't, why fans in this state can't find 30 seconds of respect when legitimately trying to make a case for their team, both Utah and BYU fans, I'll never get it.
Because I'll drop that motherfucker.
They're both really good programs. Something's wrong at Utah. I agree. Something's wrong. This is not Kyle Whittingham football that we're used to. This is not the team we're used to seeing up on the hill. Something's wrong. But having said that, they're still a really good football team. And I think BYU is a better football team right now. Facts of the case. Anyway, I feel better. Spencer Morgan says, if BYU runs the table, how strong this schedule is, I think they're in the playoff. I agree.
I agree
with that. Brylark said, did the Packers get back on? Whoa, comment dump. You guys, seriously. Day Old Donut says, and I think BYU has happy about that. Okay. Barfing Chickens. The one game I can't wait for BYU is versus Virginia. Beating Mendenhall would legitimize the current BYU team so much more, in my opinion. Well, beating Virginia would be a nice tick on the schedule. Beating Bronco is an emotional
Dude, I just
reaction.
think that they're so far past what the Bronco teams were. Like this team is twice as good as any of the Bronco teams were, man. Like this is you're
This
in
is
a
different
time,
era.
bro.
Yeah, this is a different era. I mean, Bronco Mendenhall, and again, I feel like we've talked about this 3 straight days or so.
We have.
Bronco Mendenhall brought BYU to a certain point, and he deserves a lot of credit, and he deserves your respect because he's earned it. Kalani Sitake took what Bronco Mendenhall did, and Bronco did a lot. He took what Bronco did, and he's now carried the ball forward.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a lot of people who don't like Bronco, and I will never understand that out of BYU fan, because Bronco Mendenhall has done an incredible amount for this program. And I think you just have to, to understand that. You have to realize the contribution that Bronco made to who you are now.
Yeah.
Because if you're not willing to do that, I would just like to know why. What is it that Bronco did? I mean, did he kick your dog? Did he date your sister and dump her on the side of the road? Like, what did he do? Because the disrespect of Bronco Mendenhall and the lack of recognition for the contribution that he's made to this current day BYU program is unfathomable to me.
What do you think the contribution is?
Well, I think there's no question that he helped take the largest, most difficult steps in independence. He showed that you could recruit on the honor code as an independent. He showed that you could beat major college football powerhouses as an independent at BYU. And I think he restored faith in BYU fans that just because you didn't get an invite to the Pac-12, the world wasn't coming to an end. And one thing you didn't do enough was beat Utah. That's certainly true. I agree with that. But Bronco Mendenhall deserves a lot of respect because he earned it.
Yeah.
He earned it. He won a lot of football games. He won a lot of big football games.
Well, and he also went through the trash to get to allow the program to get to where it's got today.
Yeah, I agree with that. BYU fans dropping in with the persecution complex. Truth about that.
Persecution complex. That's amazing.
Truth. Casey Finlinson says, did you guys see the sign on the Viv has been changed to a black and white one or a black one with smart home being removed? Yeah, I think Vivint is just Vivint. Vivint wants to get away from Vivint Smart Home. And as a former Vivint client, trust me, that's a smart move.
See what he did there? Smart. They don't want it to be smart home, smart move.
Right.
It all kind of
synergy
goes together, yeah.
But there's a major rebrand for the Utah Jazz happening. I mean, they're using a lot of black and white imagery in their practice facility, at the arena. By the way, the move to Las Vegas for training camp is curious.
I don't like it.
I'm curious. I don't know.
I don't know why you would do it.
Just in COVID times, I don't know why you would do it. You know, like I don't.
Yeah.
That's a significantly more hazardous move.
It's begging for a young guy to get cut because he got COVID. That's what it's begging.
I would agree with that.
It's begging for that kind of situation to happen.
Yeah. You know, I think it is.
That said, training camp's like a week away.
I would agree.
Let's go.
It's amazing.
Let's go. We get to piss off people with our Rudy Gobert.
Do you guys watch Jazz games? Nope, never. Not once.
Twitter's been going crazy.
Barfing Chicken says, I loved Mendenhall. That's why I think it'd be great if BYU crapped on Virginia. I thought it was a super great coach. Shows that BYU has been growing. Yeah, for sure. Horatio Hornblower says, Bronco was great coming off the stench of the Croton years. Yeah, I mean, that alone.
But how many people, how many current BYU fans,
remember the Croton years?
Remember those years that far back,
Well, they remember the awful uniforms.
Yeah, but my point is when you're
a BYU
uniform. When you're having the historical conversation, people, younger folks who are currently students at BYU could care less about the Croton years and Bronco and all that stuff. They just know their team is good and that's where it's at. And I think there is a sect of BYU fan right now who is older and who can appreciate the plight of this program and where it's been able to get to. I agree with that, but I just think you got to remember that when it comes to BYU beating Bronco and beating Virginia and all of that, I just think that game for most of the fan base is it's another game. I think it's a smaller percentage, like 10 to 20% who appreciate the Bronco thing.
Well, I'm curious how many fans remember. I mean, the name Gary Croton. I mean, obviously you know his players more. I mean, there's not many BYU fans that know who Lavelle Edwards truly is. I mean, they know the name; it's on the building. But they know who Ty Detmer is. They know who who Luke Staley is. You know who.
Yeah.
I mean, you remember those names. You remember the Calvin Oyes. You remember the Taysom Hills. Do you really remember Bronco Mendenhall that well? Probably not.
Fred Warner.
I mean, I think you remember the big names at BYU. You remember the guys that are in that went to the league. You remember the guys that were in big when you fought Memphis in Miami. Like you remember kind of Kua. But my point is, I don't know that fans really remember Gary Croton.
Yeah.
And the issues around that program at that time. Nobody forgot Luke and Brandon. I would agree with that. Bronco had his annoying moments, but I'd hate him. I didn't hate him. Now I do want this team to bury him. Yes, then shake his hand and send him back to Virginia. Yeah, I agree with that, BYU.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, Utah would be 5 times out of 10 against BYU. Overreaction is natural, but come on. Okay.
I love this so much.
With all due respect, Sam, I think this is one of the worst starts to a Utah program that I can remember. And I don't know. I don't mean to be redundant. There is something wrong at Utah. There is something bigger than football going on there. I don't know what that is. I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's known that Kyle's leaving or retiring. I don't know. There's something wrong inside that program. And it is impacting their play on the field. This is one of the shocking lack of execution, lack of discipline, lack of mental toughness, hallmarks of Kyle Whittingham football teams.
Yeah.
And we just don't see that. This guy's been there for 12 years, I think now, or whatever, as the head coach. We've never seen the mistakes that are happening now. Just a lack of good football.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never had a great quarterback. Not in the last 10 years. But you don't expect Utah quarterbacks to just throw interceptions all over the place. You don't expect Kyle Whittingham to come out and let them throw interceptions all over the place. But the problem is you can't run the ball. And what's a hallmark of Kyle Whittingham offenses? Well, we're going to run the ball. And they can't run the ball right now.
Yeah.
It's shocking. I don't believe that today, if Utah and BYU played again, BYU would win by far more. I think BYU is just a more well-coached, more prepared team. And they showed that they have depth and tenacity and toughness to win that game. And I think they would win it if they played 10 times. I think BYU would win 5 or 6. And in the 7th one, it'd be really close.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what's going on at Utah right now. It's the same thing that I say, about Washington. It's shocking what we're seeing at Washington.
Yeah, it's a transition phase. There's no doubt about it. No matter how you want to slice it, the transition of Witt leaving has begun. Whether that takes him 5 years to leave the program or next year.
And by the way, I do give Witt a lot of credit because let's stop talking about QB competitions. There's no competition at Utah. Cam Rising's the starting quarterback at Utah. And when you come in and throw the ball all over the field and you get that team to overtime like they did, like he did against the Aztecs, he's the starting quarterback. I mean, Charlie Brewer just does not have the arm to play at this level.
Yeah.
And I think that Cam Rising does. And, I was talking to, a bunch of other Pac-12 guys yesterday. And everybody's like, well, let's see what Cam can do. I don't disagree with that. Cam Rising has to come out and have a big weekend that nobody's going to see because it's on a shitty network that nobody watches.
He deserves the opportunity to fail. That's the way it's described in sports. You deserve the opportunity to go out and show what you can do.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do. Anyway, I don't. The thing I struggle with. I hate doing this with Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah.
I think the world of that guy. As a guy, I think the world of Kyle Whittingham. And it's tough. And if you look around this league, and whether it's Cristobal, whether it's Jimmy Lake, pick your guy.
Herm.
You respect the hell out of Herm Edwards, sure. Like, he's got a recruiting scandal going on. That's inexperience in college football is my guess. I look at the coaches around this league, and none of them have the tenure or the respect or the accomplishments of Kyle Whittingham in this league. And I think it's really difficult. I mean, him and David Shaw feel like the last of the great era of Pac-12 coaches.
Chip?
And Chip's not. Chip, nah.
Even when he did Oregon, does it count?
I don't think so. Chip never won. Like at the highest. Chip Kelly won enough, but not enough.
Uh-huh.
He never went all the way at Oregon. Like, Chip Kelly won you games and made you money and turned on fans, and that's great. He never won at the highest level. And the shady recruiting service stuff, and I don't consider Chip Kelly one of the great Pac-12 coaches.
Okay.
Like the Pete Carroll era, David Shaw, Kyle Whittingham. Who else in this league has been here? There's been so much coaching turnover. There's been so much executive turnover in this league. Guys like Kyle Whittingham are so hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have turnover, and it's going to be harsh at Utah. It's going to be very difficult to take. And because I don't know where you go. Is Morgan Scalley, is Morgan Scalley the next head coach at Utah? I don't know. After the tech scandal, I don't know. But I know you're never going to replace Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah.
It's just not going to fucking happen. That guy I'm telling you, you look at this league, look at the major brands in the Pac-12 that are struggling. And why are they struggling? Because they don't have consistency and you don't have solid, thoughtful leadership.
Yeah.
And one of the things that you will never be able to say about BYU or Utah is that they don't have leadership. Whether it's Bronco, whether it's Kalani, Witt, Urban, for decades now, this state has had some of the top coaching and leadership talent in the game. And that's coming to an end. That is coming to an end at Utah. And it's unfortunate because you feel it. You really feel like there's something happening at Utah, and I don't know what it is. And that's one of the most difficult things to understand. It is just that is just not easy.
Yeah.
Let's see. Hornblower says Roderick was in the building as OC. Utah chose Tuttle over Wilson. There's definitely been some mismanagement in recent years. Yeah. It is Jack Tuttle. Sam Kim says, is there an intra-conference rule even with new transfer portal rules? I don't believe there is. Longtime Bronco fan, I hope he wins every game except the BYU game, Chris Karn says. Yeah, me too. I wish nothing but the best for Bronco Mendenhall. Yeah. Him and his family are class acts. And whether you like to paddleboard across Utah Lake or not, I think it's hard to root against Bronco Mendenhall. I really do. He used to do that.
Right.
Anyway, Leonard Avalos says, you guys think there is a QB controversy at SC? I don't.
No.
I don't. And again, if you're new to this show, we've been saying for a while, Kedon Slovis is not our guy. He's really good. And then you start playing football games and you're like, is this Clay Helton's fault? What's wrong with Kedon Slovis? Well, and then, Jaxson Dart, who's got the greatest name ever, and a mane of hair like a frickin' lion.
I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellent.
He comes in and just throws bombs all over the place, running, throwing, accuracy, everything you want out of the Gatorade National Player of the Year and one of the top quarterback recruits in the country. Kedon Slovis is dead.
Yeah.
Put his ass in the transfer portal now. Because I'm telling you.
You need someone to keep the bench warm, right?
Well, I'm telling you, this is Jaxson Dart's team. I don't believe that there is a quarterback controversy at SC.
And it was almost perfect the way it happened because he suffered that little knee, tweak or injury, whatever you want to call it. And he's like limping around the field and he's got that war paint on one eye. And it just was this perfect storm of like, yep, the next USC quarterback has just arrived. Like that's what it is. I really don't think that's exaggerating. I mean, that's how big it was.
What are you going to say to the team if Kedon Slovis walks out as the starting quarterback on Saturday?
Yeah,
because there's going to be some pissed off people.
Yeah, I don't think you are.
I don't think so either.
I don't think you can do that.
Arthur Melander says you're making too much of this, or you're making this too complex. They're having problems running the ball, and that is what Utah thrives on. The players aren't as talented or with the necessary skill set to allow running to work. Well, you just said I was making too much of it, and then you described how I'm not making too much of it. If you believe that this is a talent-only problem, I think you're crazy. 1. 2, the very essence of Kyle Whittingham is putting guys in the right spot. This is a guy who routinely takes offensive players and converts them to NFL defensive backs. I mean, this is not – I'm just telling you. And maybe I am. I don't know. Hope I'm wrong. Hope I'm making too much of it. Hope I'm wrong.
Listen.
There's something not right at Utah.
The thing that he said in that comment that's very telling is if it's a talent issue, you're agreeing with us. And the reason you're agreeing with us is because if they don't have talent defensively or on the offensive line in the areas that Kyle Whittingham is notorious for just stalking through, the ass. They've got players for days on defense, usually. Now they don't. And that speaks to where he's at with his footballing career. And I'm telling you, that's the issue. You get to a point in football. This is why Tom Brady's always asked, how long are you going to play? How long are you going to play? That's why everyone always asks, because he's been playing for so damn long, you would think that he got burned out, but he's the anomaly. And so then you take that logic and you apply it to Kyle Whittingham. And you say, hey, man, you're 65 years old. You've had a hell of a run here. How long you got left? What's the shelf life? And you start to see the little cracks in the program, less recruiting, less here, less there, and they're flying under the radar until you have a 3-win season and the program's burning to the ground. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, if Kyle Whittingham misses a bowl this year, I mean, it's tragic. Anyway, Spencer Morgan says, I agree something's up at Utah. I wonder if the team has come to the point where they realize their head coach's offense involvement is hurting them. Could be. Absolutely.
Well, that's been a narrative with teams before.
For how long?
Yeah, a long time.
Yeah, I agree. Curtis Garbett says Virginia winning is not good for BYU recruiting. UVA coaches are recruiting the state of Utah pretty heavily. That's not everybody is.
Yeah,
everybody is. Everybody is. Jaxson Dart's at USC. I mean, figure it out. We can sit here and we can go round and round about the big names who wound up at USC and didn't stay in the state of Utah. Bronco played a huge role in that. My Cleveland Brown guy, Porter Gustin, wanted desperately to be at BYU. We're out of scholarships at that position, sir.
Yeah.
Goes down to SC, plays pretty well, gets hurt a lot, but ends up making huge plays for the Cleveland Browns. Now, I haven't heard a thing from him this year, but last year he was amazing for them. Damian Mama, Porter Gustin, Jaxson Dart, you name it. This state is incredibly. Look at Frank Jackson. Went to Duke to play basketball.
Duke is Duke.
This state is not a secret anymore, unfortunately. Spencer Morgan says Roderick was the reason they got Tuttle, by the way. Then it was Roderick's turn to be the next OC scapegoat. They lost Tuttle anyway. Yeah, please don't get me started on that.
All right.
Is it a lack of talent or just a lack of effort from the players, Dale Donut says. It's not a lack of effort. I think you have guys playing hard, guys who want to compete and do well. I just think that whatever the issue on the offensive line is, you're just not very good. Mm-hmm. And maybe it is poor coaching up there. I don't know. Jackson Graham says, is Utah in shambles? They could win the Pac-12 still. They've lost nothing. And this is the other thing that a lot of people don't want to recognize. Utah's lost nothing. I mean, they can win the Pac-12 they can still go to the Rose Bowl. They've lost nothing. Everything is in front of them. Spencer Morgan says Utah is used to having running backs that get yards despite bad line play and defenders getting in the backfield. They no longer have that. Micah Bernard's a hell of a running back.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I just don't think the problem is Charlie Brewer didn't have time. And when you have a weak-ass arm and you don't have time, that's a problem.
Interceptions. And
when you are Cam Rising and you have a great arm, you can afford to throw off one foot. You can afford to, my guess is they're going to run a lot more RPO because you got to do something to slow down the pass rush. You got to throw the ball to the running back. You got to throw the ball at a tight end. And then this is the Brant Keithy thing. How is he not dominating? How is he not your number one target? Anyway.
Yeah.
Is what it is.
Let's not go till 8:30 today, huh?
No, we can't. All right, couple more things I want to get to. Stock market and
having people over.
So there's a little site called KSL.com here
I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it.
In Utah.
Yeah, it's just a little site,
I hate selling things on KSL.com. First of all, it's no different than a garage sale. This guy literally. So I used to have a Toyota Tacoma.
Uh-huh.
I'm selling Toyota Tacoma wheels because I upgraded the wheel package on my Tacoma. So I have the stock 17-inch wheel, and I'm selling a set of 4. I'm asking $150, not $1,000, $150 for all 4, and you get center caps and lugs. It's a pretty good deal. This guy texts me. He's like, "Will you take $30?"
$30?
$30. I'm like, no. Another guy texts me, "Hey, will you take $100? I'm living in my van." I'm like, guy, if you're living in your van, you can't afford $100 on wheels. No. Well, all right, I'll give you $150. I was just trying to play with your emotions. So I blocked him and didn't sell him.
He literally said that.
Yes. So I blocked him.
What a douche.
And so this guy yesterday, he's like, "Hey, do you still have those wheels?" Some new dude. I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right, how about $75? And I said, "It's $150. I'm not negotiating." He goes, "All right, I'll be there in 10 minutes. I'm like, "Well, no, I can't, but I could do it tomorrow morning." And he goes, "All right, how about 11 o'clock? And I said, "No, it's 9 o'clock. So he's like, "All right, I'll be there at 9. Text me your address." I'm like, "I'll text it to you in the morning. I'm not giving you my address now. Like, that's not smart." And he's like, "Okay, fine." That's what he says. "Okay, fine." And it's just like, this is not worth the headache. Nope. I should just donate them.
Yep.
For $150, take them for free, Deseret Industries. Like, yeah. I hate selling things. Like, I hate it.
Yeah, negotiate his ass off guy rolling up to your garage sale it's always been annoying, and that's why I say, like, when you do garage sales, it literally should just be a thing where you're like, yeah, go ahead, take it. You're just looking to get rid of stuff. That's it. It can't be a thing where, and I'm not criticizing you for the way you handled those, but I think like at a traditional garage sale when someone rolls up, all those items you're selling just need to be like, okay, like when they offer you something, yeah, cool, take it. Great. You know, like you can't be rolling out in a garage sale looking to make $1,000.
No.
You know, you can't be doing that.
But it is annoying as hell. It's always some sketchy ass MFer who rolls up.
Yeah.
Like I bought all new appliances when I bought my house. So we sold a range, a gas range.
Yeah.
And this guy rolls up, puts it on a dolly, and then physically lifts it into a broken ass, like 1962 Nissan pickup truck. Look, okay.
And he reeks of smoke.
And then, like, we sell this bed I got a new bed. I got like a $6,000 rocket ship.
The 0G split top rocket ship bed.
So we sell a California King bed and box springs for $100, I think it was, or whatever.
Yeah.
And the lady's like, well, I can't pick it up now. I'll come back. Okay. What time are you going to come back? Oh, give me like 2 hours. All right, cool. This is at like 9 in the morning. All right, should be here by 11. We'll go do our shit. All right, cool. No. Oh, it started raining? Okay, let's be nice people and pull the mattress and box springs inside. Okay, cool.
Because they had already paid you at that point.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's pull them inside and, you know.
Yeah.
All right, neat. 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. Oh, you're going to be here at 6 o'clock. 6:30, 7 o'clock. They got there at 7:30. And it's like, dude, like this has been sitting in my living room. It's raining. Come get your match. Man, I'm not like a storage facility.
Yeah.
And the best part was the woman was mildly attractive. And the guy showed up in a Ford Raptor pickup truck and then made a sex joke about his wife on the mattress.
I want it.
Kind of made it all worth it. Kind of made it all worth
dude.
it.
It was hilarious.
Like he had this Raptor pickup truck, and I said to him, man, it looks like you can have a good time in that truck. He goes, not as good as we're going to have on this mattress. It was amazing. It was amazing.
Epic.
I just hate selling stuff.
Yeah, it's not worth the hassle.
It really isn't
worth
the hassle. And then there's the Dow. Look, I have a money guy, and we've talked about this before. I have a pretty good stake in the market.
Right.
I day trade a little bit on the E-Trade thing, you know, like I own company stock. You know, like I have a good bit of money in the old account there. You know, but the frustrating thing is, like in my Schwab, my Schwab account is controlled by a financial advisor. And so, as we've talked about on the show now for a couple of weeks, we have a little bit of money sitting around that we need to put to work. And so we set up a call with the money guy. I'm like, hey man, I got this amount of money. I need to double that money in a short amount of time.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And he basically said, yeah, there's nothing we can do for you. Yeah, I mean, he said, you know, you could give it to us. We can put it in the market, but that's not a short-term turn. Like, it's frustrating to me. And my financial guy's pretty good. If you want to hand him a lump sum of money and tell him to go buy stocks with it, he's pretty good. But if you want to create a tax shelter, or if you want to find a way to invest your money to offset your tax liability, he's not the guy to call. And I'm a little frustrated with that.
Uh-huh.
Now, it happens. We had a great conversation on the market yesterday while we were talking to our guy.
Uh-huh.
And Apple stock was pretty off yesterday. So we gave him a pretty good chunk of money to go buy a bunch of Apple stock with.
Yeah.
And he did. So I'm happy with that. I mean, I tripled my position on Apple yesterday because the Dow was off 600 points.
I like how they call it a position. I tripled my position.
Well, I tripled the number of Apple shares that I have, which is great.
Yeah.
But it's frustrating to me right now that it's very difficult to find a way to limit your tax liability. The thing that drives me crazy in this country is if you don't own a home, we do. But if you own a home and you don't have any children, we don't. Like, you're going to pay through your butthole for tax.
Yep.
I mean, and it is not the best way to go. And it is.
I mean, it sounds like an ass vacuum situation.
It is an ass vacuum situation. Like the IRS is going to come for that ass. And the frustrating part is, okay, well, if I put my money in the market and I flip it and take it out to buy an investment property, I'm going to have to pay capital gains on the gain, on the profit from the market. So I'm going to lose money on the capital gains. Like, and the average money guy's not going to tell you, well, go do this and then go do that, and that's how you cheat the system. Like, he's not going to tell you that. I need a guy who will tell me that. So
I need John Wick.
If you know a sketchy-ass investment guy, DM me. Actually, don't.
Do you want to set up the meeting?
Don't. I mean, it is what it is. Traditional IRAs and 401ks are pretty good at limiting tax liability. I max out. I have a traditional 401k. I have a Roth. I have a money market account.
You have a lot.
I max all of that shit. Like, I put as much money. I think I'm putting 11% of my net at the end of the day. Well, pre-tax goes into the Roth. Like, I have about 11% of my income every month going to investment and retirement. And thankfully, Yelp is a great company and they match my stuff, which is great. But between my money guy who he gets a lump sum of money every month out of my gross, like he just takes it out of my bank account every month, right?
Yep.
Like, but it's not doing what I need it to do quickly.
Yeah.
So we have this lump sum of money, who, by the way, we're going to wind up giving to a deck guy who wants like $86,000 freaking dollars.
It became personal with me.
We had another guy come out and give us an estimate on a deck for the hot tub that my wife went out and bought. That we bought together. And another deck guy came out yesterday, and it's stupid money.
You've thrown our budget a little out of whack.
Yeah, that's true, Brylark. He says, and that's why Mormons keep having kids, tax dodgers. No, that's not true, but it's true. That's just an offshoot of lots of sex and, fertilizing eggs and sperm.
And hot tub
that
action.
whole thing.
Yeah.
In the hot tub.
Right.
Correct.
Uh-huh.
BJ Lamarche says, go have kids. Too late. Edgar Garcia says, my freaking boys. What's up, kid?
What's up?
Good to see you, Edgar. Appreciate you. It's just, what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
dude, it's hard. It's not easy, man. It's a frustrating thing.
We need to stop punishing rich people in this country.
Yeah. Well.
And I think we do that pretty well. Until you become mega rich, and I'm not, and I probably never will be. I will likely never be a billionaire. But we need to. I'm the middle class in this country. I think we need to stop punishing people who make good money.
Yeah,
that's what it comes down to. Because if you look at the situation, if I own 2 houses, I have to pay more money to buy a new house. I can't. It's so funny. We talk about, oh my God, the American dream. Buy homes and make money and put wholly 20% down. Oh, you're not going to put 20% down? Okay, here's some mortgage insurance for you. All right.
My fucking ass.
You're going to put 20% down? Yeah, well, then you're going to have to go live in that house. It's going to have to be your primary residence. Right? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I don't know, dude.
It's so frustrating. Right now, I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
I am frustrated with it.
Yep.
Because I need to take this money and make more money with this money.
Yeah.
And there's not an easy, quick way to do that. So
the money situation is annoying as hell. Like,
by the way, where's your next date going to be?
In-N-Out.
No, come on, seriously.
I'm being serious.
I don't need sexual euphemisms.
It's at In-N-Out. A double-double. Onions. Strawberry shake.
An Eiffel Tower?
Yeah.
So wait, you're going to take on your second date.
Yeah.
You're going to
At her request. At her request.
So you're going to take the teacher to In-N-Out for your second date.
Yes.
Okay.
At her request.
So
she said, I like a good burger. Let's go to In-N-Out. Thus proving my point that In-N-Out is superior to Wendy's.
So wait, you're never going to call her again, right?
You're so fucked.
Yeah, you guys broke up, right? You said
No.
to her, you know,
No, we
the
didn't.
engagement's
In and
off.
out is fire, dude.
The engagement's off. You said
In and out is bomb.
You said, "Oh, I think you meant Five Guys," right?
Yeah.
That was your response?
No, not at all. Nope.
You said, "Okay, well then we're going to have to just come over to my place."
Five Guys is
there's
not
a
in
Wendy's
this conversation.
right next. There's
Five
a Wendy's
Guys ain't
right
in the
down the street.
conversation, bro. Five Guys ain't in the conversation
For what?
for the best burger thing. It doesn't have a drive-through. Can't count it. It's in its own category. Much
Okay,
like
so
taxing
when
people.
did we make these rules?
They've been rules. What do you
So
mean?
wait, Five Guys can't be in the conversation for best burger because they don't have a drive-through?
You can't compare a place that doesn't have a drive-through to places that have drive-throughs. It's a totally different setup.
What the fuck are you, Ronald McDonald?
Yes.
What are you talking about?
Yes.
No, we can because
No, you can't.
I said so.
Okay.
Want to arm wrestle for it?
No.
Jerk. I'm telling you right now, Five Guys is the best fast food burger in the business.
It's not fast food.
Yes, it is. How is it not? Is it greasy and terrible
It's
for you?
fast casual.
Oh, it is? It's not fast casual.
Yes, it is.
Stop it.
dude. Yes, it is. Bro, it is.
Fat Jesus says In and Out and then a trip to Pound Town.
Yes.
There you go.
Correct.
Horatio Hornblower, she sounds like she is low maintenance, A+.
Hell yeah, she is.
Hell
yeah.
Brylark says Jake only knows how to animal style.
Hell yeah.
What the fuck are you, Ranger Rick?
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Greg
My
Hawkins
guy.
says, hell yeah, Jake. Nice job.
Yeah, let's go, baby.
Brylark says, got to get rid of her. Now a good burger is not In and Out. Thank you, Brylark. Giggity says, my man Jake going for that double animal style.
Let's go.
Hey. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Extra cheese, you know. You know.
This is a tasty burger.
That's a girl that likes a lot of protein. Hey now. Anyway.
If you guys ever want to kick it, we'll flow.
We should stop.
Woo!
You should play the music.
Wow.
Please
Okay.
give us a thumbs up if you're here watching this show. We really appreciate you. You guys make this possible. This channel is growing exponentially. And I just am so thankful for everybody that's here every day. Everybody but Brylark. No, I'm kidding. He just happens to be the name I saw first. We really appreciate you guys being here. Again, when we get to 2,500, we're giving away a Traeger smoker. All you have to do is, what are we at now? 2155. All you have to do is subscribe, take a picture, put that picture on Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, like Kaylin did on TikTok today. Tag us, The Monty Show, MONTY and SLC Supercars. You're entered to win. 737 driver says Crown Burger. That's my guy. Until tomorrow, say I do it animal style, Jake.
I do it animal style, Jake.